Today we're talking about conversions with decimals. And so that matches standard 5 MDA1. So there were very specific strategies that were taught in class that students need to remember throughout their time when they're doing these problems. One thing is to think about if the units are going from big to small or small to big. Big unit to small unit, we're going to multiply it by a whole number. And if it's a small unit to a big unit, we're going to multiply it by a fraction or a decimal. And then once that has been determined, then we go ahead and we start our typical steps of breaking the unit, renaming the unit, and solving. Okay? So let's do some practice problems. We do look at the metric system first. So let's say we have 23 thousandths meters equals to blank centimeters. So I know that meters are larger than centimeters, so I'm moving from a big unit to a small unit. And because of that, I'm going to be multiplying by a whole number. So our step 1 here is to break that unit. So I'm going to do 23 thousandths times 1 meter. Second step is to rename the unit. So instead of naming this 1 meter, I'm actually going to name it 100 centimeters. And these are equivalent. 1 meter is equivalent to 100 centimeters. So essentially, the value has not changed whatsoever. And then step 3 is to solve. So 23 thousandths times 100 centimeters would be 2 3/10. So my answer here would be 2 3/10 centimeters. Okay? All right, so let's try another one. So let's look at 21 6/10 centimeters. And we're actually going to convert that into meters. So we're thinking again, we're converting something that's small, such as centimeters, into something that's big, such as meters. I'm going to actually be multiplying by a fraction or a decimal. So step 1, break the unit. 21 6/10 times 1 centimeter. All I'm doing is separating the numbers from the actual units. Step 2 is to rename that unit. So I need to think, there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So 1 centimeter would be 1/100th of an actual meter. Now multiplying decimals and fractions is something that we do not do. So I'm going to go ahead and take this decimal and convert it into a fraction. It's in the tenths place, so I'm going to go ahead and write this as 216 tenths times 1 over 100. And we know that when we multiply fractions, we multiply going straight across. So I have 216, and 10 times 100 is 1,000. And I can rewrite that as a decimal because their thousandths is 3 places behind the decimal. So I can say 0 and 216 thousandths, and that would be my final answer. Okay. One more for the metric system. Let's say we have 3 liters and 25 milliliters. And that's going to equal to blank milliliters. So with 25 milliliters already being in milliliters, I can leave it alone and then add it at the end. And I just want to strictly worry about the 3 liters. So the liters are moving from big to small, so I know I'm going to have to multiply by a whole number. So step 1, 3 times 1 liter. Step 2, I'm going to rename 3 times 1,000 milliliters, and that gets me 3,000 milliliters. Then I want to go ahead and add in that 25 milliliters from earlier. and that would get me my 3,025 milliliters. Okay? All right. So the next one that we're going to focus on is the standard system of measurement. So let's look at 4 3/10 yards and go ahead and convert that into inches. Same steps apply. We know we're moving from yards to inches, which is from big to small. And when we do that, we multiply by a whole number. So 4 3/10 times 1 yard is 4 3/10 times 36 inches. Okay? So what I tell students all the time, you're multiplying by a decimal. Go ahead and take that and convert it into unit form. So make this 43/10 times 36. So we have 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1, 25. And then we just kind of keep going. Okay, and then tenths times ones is actually tenths. So that means my decimal is going to land right here. So I'm going to have 254 and 8/10 inches. Okay? I know it looks kind of weird because there is a decimal on the back of there, but trust me, it is correct. All right, another one. Let's see, 30 inches into feet. So I know I'm moving from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, which means I'm going to be multiplying by a fraction or a decimal. Now, with the standard form, we're not going to be able to multiply by a decimal because they're not all focused on 10, 100, and 1,000. So if I have 30 times 1 inch, I have to think 1 inch is the same thing as 1/12 of a foot. So in this case, I'm using fractions. Now, I tell students all the time, take that whole number and place it over 1. So you have 30 over 1 times 1/12, which would give you 30/12 feet. Now, we definitely don't want to leave it as an improper fraction, so we're going to go ahead and divide. 30 divided by 12. That can go in 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24. We subtract to get 6. We do not like remainders at all in 5th grade, so we add a decimal and a 0. Many students forget to add that decimal, and what happens is the value changes from 30 to 300. So we have to be really careful. Bring that 0 down. So now I have 60 divided by 12, which is 5. 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract, and now I have 0. So my answer is 2 5/10 feet. All right, one more. And your password or your secret word today is the word metric. So last one is going to be 2. Oh, I didn't do it well. Let's see. 2 pounds. And I tell the kids all the time, make that a capital L and not a lowercase l, because if not, it's going to look like the number 1. So 2 pounds, 14 ounces equals to blank ounces. And again, this is already in ounces, so I'm going to leave it alone for the time being and convert those 2 pounds into ounces. So we have 2 times 1 pound, which is the same as 2 times 16 ounces. 2 times 16 is 32. So I have 32 ounces plus that original 14. is going to give me 46 ounces. So we have 46 ounces. Okay, if you simply stick to, these tips right here, especially these 3 steps, you are going to do absolutely fine. If you start trying to take shortcuts or do your own method, you're going to most likely end up with an incorrect answer. So I'm strongly suggesting you follow directions and do the steps that I've taught you in class.